for every team in crypto that fails, it gets at least 10 times more press than a successful one. And as an industry, I think we could all just embrace a little bit more of that mentality where it's a really small pie right now. We're all in the game of expanding that pie. And I think that type of behavior should be called out and also, discouraged.
Yeah.
So what Eigen did yesterday, I think is complete bullshit. It's like, guys, like if you really believe in your tech, if you believe in what you're doing, like just stick at it. Like why FUD?
If you are an Empire listener, hopefully you've played around on chain. And if you have done that, you know that transferring assets across different chains is a pain, to put it nicely. That is why we are incredibly excited to have the Wormhole Foundation as a partner of the Empire podcast, stewards of the Wormhole protocol, supporting over 30 different blockchains and 6 different runtimes. Stay tuned later in the show. We have a cool thing that you can claim, which is a Wormhole NFT just for Empire listeners. This episode is brought to you by Monad, which has not only the highest performance EVM L1 architecture ever built, but also the wildest and craziest community in crypto. Monad's internal DevNet is live and public testnet comes out soon. So make sure you join the Monad community today at discord.gg/Monad, MONAD, Monad.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. It's marathon week, so we have a sick Santi, an injured Santi, a complaining, rambling Santi. So yeah, welcome back, folks.
The TLDR is the Santi is getting fucking old. Like, this is it's like I'm facing my own demons in reality. But anyways, GM.
So we got the, can you say which marathon it is?
Boston Marathon.
Boston Marathon, baby.
I've qualified a number of times over the years, and this is the first time I'm actually doing it. I went to school here. Today, it's the first marathon in the U.S. So it's like you need to qualify. So it's the most prestigious. So anyways, I'm excited. It will also be, there's like 6 world major marathons. This is my 6th. So I'm going to get over in Chicago, London, Berlin, New York, Tokyo. This is the last Boston. So the hard part, what makes Boston is like there's this like the heartbreak hill. So today I actually went and ran the last 12K of the course. It's pretty uphill, I gotta say. So I'll be needing all the good vibes.
Is that at the end of the race?
Yeah, it's like the second half of the race. Last like mile 19, 20 onward. It's like so.
Just legs have given out. People are like crawling up the hill.
Yeah. Anyways, many times I wonder why I subject myself to this pain and misery, but I also wonder about the crypto too. Many times.
Yeah, many ways of your life.
This week has been really interesting. I think there's been a lot of news stories, right? So I think we can just do the regular roundup, just covering a lot of the news.
Yeah.
There should be plenty of content.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, news of the week. By the way, we have 2 really good podcast episodes coming out. So Tuesday we've got one with Steven Federer. Or Goldfeder, from the CEO of Off-Chain Labs and kind of the co-founder of Arbitrum and stuff like that. I don't know what his title should be, but yeah, really good episode. Basically, we on the last roundup we were talking about L3s and just kind of rambling on about these L3s, and Steven came on and kind of gave the bull case for L3s, and I thought it was a really good, succinct argument. And yeah, I mean, I kind of took a back seat in the episode, but folks should stay tuned. That comes out on Tuesday. Then there's one with Jake Bruckman and Seth, who runs the Liquid Book at Coin Fund, and Jake Bruckman's the co-founder of Coin Fund. And that was a really good episode. Seth is about as bullish as you can possibly be. He's calling for you'll have to listen to the episode, but like it's probably the most bullish podcast we've had of the year. We missed you obviously, but okay. So news of the week, we've got Uniswap received a Wells notice from the SEC. We've got MarginFi's co-founder kind of rage quit. We've got the Bitcoin halving in about a week. We've got Karak, the restaking protocol competitor to Eigen Layer launched. Circle and BlackRock did a thing, and Sui launched a phone. Where do you want to start?
I think that order seems fine.
Great. Uniswap. Let me give the high level for people who missed it. Hopefully, if you're working in crypto, you didn't miss it. But yeah, Uniswap received a Wells notice from the SEC this week. a Wells notice. I'm going to kind of ramble through my understanding of what just happened, but a Wells notice is something that precedes a formal enforcement action. It wasn't really a surprise from what when talking to other lawyers in space and talking to some people at Uniswap. It wasn't really a big surprise. But yeah, still like not great, I'd say. So the pending charges, I couldn't really figure it out, but it seems like the pending charges are a bit unclear. There were a series of posts from Uniswap execs. No one really spelled out the allegations that the SEC made. I think it seems like something maybe about Uniswap being a broker, maybe something else about, I think it was their chief legal officer, Marvin Amori, said that securities regulators have an argument that Uniswap is operating as an unregistered exchange and a brokerage. And that's if you remember the Coinbase and Binance cases, it's the same argument that
they lost already.
Yeah. I would also, I would assume there's something about the Uni token. If they're real, like you don't go after Uniswap and just kind of like half-ass it. Like I would assume if you're going after Uniswap, you're you're basically making a decision to go for the jugular. You're trying to take the biggest swing that you can possibly take. Right? They've actually gone after a bunch of smaller DeFi protocols, and they've actually won some of those, but it doesn't do anything. And so I think here they're like, boom, giddy up.
Importantly, they've lost against the players in crypto that actually have the resources to fight, and not Cape,
right.
Ripple,
Coinbase, Grayscale,
and not Uniswap.
So I would bet that they're also claiming or are going to claim that Uni is a security. In a blog post Wednesday night, Uniswap Labs put out something that declared that Uni is, quote, not a security. It does not meet the legal definition of any type of security. I don't think they would put that out if there wasn't something there. I would also bet that they're going to take the strategy they took a while ago, which is the SEC in the case is probably going to name other tokens in the case too. They did that in the complaints against Binance and Coinbase. And if you think about timing, so they just got this Wells notice. If you go back to when Coinbase got their Wells notice, the SEC filed their lawsuit against Coinbase about 2 months after Coinbase got the Wells notice. So I would assume maybe they get the official lawsuit, maybe comes in end of May or early June. And yeah.
Well, it's also interesting about what would happen with the fee switch, which was obviously something that came to light and was brought, caught people's attention. I think it was like over a month ago. So it'd be interesting to see how that all plays out. And also kind of trickling down into I don't want to jump too far ahead, but the MarginFi drama, a lot of it is related to the token and probably disagreements within the team. I don't think it's a coincidence that it all happened the day where the Wells notice was public. I think emotions were running high. And if you're a founder, it's not easy being a founder in crypto. Days like yesterday probably really, make that obvious, right? But I thought Hayden's response, he said something to the effect of, "I'm not surprised. I'm more so angry, disappointed, but ready to fight," which is something you said, which is I don't think this Wells notice catches anyone by surprise. We've talked numerous times in the episode about SEC inquiries in many DeFi protocols over the years. DeFi is one of those things where they paid a lot of attention to. It's probably closest on the regulatory kind of chopping block, if you will. And so Uniswap being the largest or one of the more prominent protocols, it's really not a surprise.
Yeah. Presumably Uniswap Labs turned down, either refused to engage with the SEC or turned down the SEC like a settlement agreement. Because if you remember, I'm just only basing this off the Coinbase case, but if you remember when Coinbase, they had their lawsuit and their public comments, I think Brian Armstrong basically said that they were told to kind of shut it down as part of the settlement. And yeah, so I'm assuming Uniswap's just like, they're not going to engage there. But the Coinbase chief legal officer, Paul Graywall, had a good post. He basically said, look, regulators at this point, if they're claiming that Uniswap's an unregistered broker, regulators have no leg to stand on here. The federal judge in Coinbase's case last month ruled that Coinbase wallet could not be conducting brokerage activities as the product doesn't make investment recommendations or hold customer funds. And that is nearly identical, I think, to Uniswap here.
Exactly. Paul is one of the best people that I literally have notifications on as I want to like stay on top of it, and he usually has very clear and good interpretations of what's going on. And yeah, people should go and look at his tweet and just follow whatever he has to say.
Yeah,
he's one of the most important people as it relates to regulatory matters.
Yeah. Okay, maybe okay, I'll give out the bull. Here's how I'm thinking about it. There's the FUD case and there's the bull case. I'll start with the FUD maybe. I think the FUD is probably that, I forget who tweeted this. I'm sorry that I'm not citing them, but it's something along the lines of the Uniswap AMM smart contracts are not run by the Uniswap company. If somehow they ended up being deemed a securities exchange and not like, just an order book, then that exchange is owned and operated by Ethereum validators or the LPs, not the Uniswap company, which then starts to raise the question of like, okay, where does this end, right? If they're saying that is a broker dealer or whatever, whatever claim that they're filing here, which we don't actually know yet, like where does that end? Like, would Ethereum itself not be a securities exchange if Uniswap smart contracts are? Like, where do you draw the line? So that's like, I'm trying to FUD, like this is if I were trying to FUD and be the most concerned person possible.
There's DeFi regulation, or like there have been like the one of the main, the traveling rule is something that has been brought up time and time again from like critics of DeFi, U.S. regulators, like, and the point that they make is like, when you're depositing money into a liquidity pool and you don't know who you're not KYCing everyone in the pool, you don't know who's in the pooling these assets, then it's problematic. So I guess I wouldn't go as far as saying Ethereum. It probably stops in like, if you're a liquidity provider, then are you acting as a broker, or do you need to register and do some sort of like really burdensome filing requirements? Is kind of the challenge, right? Probably the most negative case is that something happens in this particular case with Uniswap being the largest AMM that sets a precedent for broader DeFi regulation, which makes it very difficult for large players, even small players, to be liquidity providers, particularly around this traveling rule, particularly around like, pools of liquidity. And so that would be challenging. It might, one of the things that you might start looking at is how are these pools, especially large players like institutional players, like the market makers of the world, like what are they going to do and what are they doing in response to this well notice? Because if you see a big drop off in TVL for these protocols, particularly Uniswap, then it might give you some insight into how institutions are like thinking about it, right? I have heard, for instance, funds have stopped engaging in voting, for instance, of DAOs after the BZX case. That was a big
they're delegating to us. They're delegating to blockchain.
Yeah, exactly. So they stopped like voting on DAOs, right? Because then you don't have the same guarantees of like, if you're effectively engaged in a DAO, then you don't have the protection of like an LLC. You're kind of piercing through that. So that was like a big ramification, even though it's not policy, but people got scared. The second now that I'm looking at is if all of a sudden, funds in a similar manner stop providing liquidity or stop engaging, then that would be, the sad part of these type of actions that scare away a lot of participants, especially those that are based in the US, right? That they just stopped engaging in DeFi. So that's something that I would look at, just monitor.
Yeah. I mean, it's a real bummer, right? So I have a buddy who is starting a company that should be a crypto company. Like there's a lot of transactions that happen online in this thing, and there's kind of like people bet against each other a little bit, and I won't go into too many details because it's about to launch, but like it should be a crypto company. Like all signs point to it being like a crypto company, but either the decision that he has to make is, I'm either going to not do a crypto company and I'm going to stay in New York, or I could do a crypto company and go move to Dubai. And he's like, but he's American. He's born in New York. Like all of his friends are in New York. So he's like, yeah, it just sucks. Like he's like, I don't want to move to Dubai. Now he might have to if he thinks that crypto is like the most important part of the company. But he's like, I also might just launch it not as a crypto company, get it off the ground, raise the money, get some traction, and then, you know, hopefully, like if we get some better regulations, then I'll like even I don't. He's like, I'm fine with even worse regulations as long as there's regulatory clarity. He's like, I want to build a company, but I don't want to go to jail. So yeah, this is just like you're just pushing the best founders offshore. It's really a bummer.
It has been going on for a while. You had a great tweet about it. You remember that episode with Athena that we asked the question? Okay, so you're basically running. We asked Arthur, like, why didn't you do it as BitMEX? Right, basically this tokenized hedge fund model. He's like, well, you needed to have a neutral party that was like, from a regulatory standpoint, would be probably easier to get off the ground than if we at BitMEX as an exchange were to launch this. And that was like, that tells you everything you need to know about how hostile the regulatory environment has been. You know, obviously he's no stranger to how that and dealing with regulators for a variety of reasons, but it's just sort of interesting. There's a lot of regulatory arbitrage happening here, and I think the smart, you know, jurisdictions like Singapore, Hong Kong, Dubai, like the Emirates, even places like the United Kingdom, like you guys decided to do DAS in London. Like, you know, London's been way more proactive and friendly towards just being sensible of crypto regulation, which is really a shame when you think about the US as kind of the leader in innovation in many other fields.
Yeah. Let me give you the bull case.
What is the bull case?
The bull case is that I think Uniswap will win. I think Uniswap will win this case, and this will end up bringing a lot of clarity for the industry in the US. And if you look at why we have Bitcoin ETFs today, it's because Grayscale fought back and won their case, and that opened the floodgates for Bitcoin ETFs. Like, these things have real ramifications when you win or you lose, and I think Uniswap is really well positioned to win, and that could completely open the floodgates for I think today, this week, this could be the bottom for DeFi, or at least for the OG ETH DeFi players who are in the spotlight for from regulators.
I definitely agree with you. We're sort of, again, I don't think anyone was surprised that Uniswap got this once notice. It probably would have been better if it gotten 2 years ago. So the fact that it got today, to your point, I think I agree with, which is you compress the time to get regulatory clarity. Like, what else is needed? You won the ETF battle. Coinbase is winning a lot of the different allegations. Kraken is also fighting back. We need a big case on as it relates to DeFi, and we haven't had one. And this will be the big case that paves the way for regulators, for everyone to really say, all right, we got to get our act together and put out regulatory clarity and guidance and policies in place. And I think this is just a necessary prerequisite in that sequence. And you almost want to, I don't think anyone can disagree. You'd rather it happen now than 5 years, because if it happens in 5 years, it just means clarity for DeFi just gets delayed more and more. And to your point, any regulatory clarity, whatever it is better than the current environment, which is, regulation by enforcement without any clarity or rules, which is really exhausting and stressful and anxiety-inducing for many.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So we'll see. It was also interesting. Doug, what's this man's name? I forget the guy's name. Doug something. The CEO of Virtu came out and supported. He actually, it was kind of crazy to see this. So Virtu is one of the largest market makers in the world. There's Citadel, DRW, Jane Street, Susquehanna, Hudson River, and Virtu. I think those are probably the 5 to 7 biggest market makers in the whole world. And Doug Sifu, he said, best of luck to you, Marvin, talking to the chief legal officer at Uniswap. Best of luck to you. Gary's a politician, not a regulator, as is his head of enforcement, who is just as awful as the New Jersey AG. We wouldn't come settle with them either when they demanded unsupportable ransom demands pulling for you guys. So now you've got, think about how crazy that. Now you've got one of the largest market makers in the world collaborating and saying, hey, we support you guys. You know, decentralized AMM over here. It's just cool.
Yeah. I mean, what Uniswap basically allows is anyone to be a market maker. And it's actually pretty interesting. I don't think anyone can disagree like the novelty of AMMs. Like anyone that I talk to in traditional finance and explain Uniswap, they're like, wow, that's pretty cool. And it is sort of a very novel piece of technology that allows anyone to be like sort of like levels a playing field. Anyone to be a market maker. So it's one of the bedrocks of DeFi. I don't think it's going away. So it's really nice to see traditional finance people come out in support of Uniswap. And I'm also happy that SBF is no longer in the fold because he was one of the largest critics of DeFi for obvious reasons. Like he was a very toxic force in DC. Now that he's not here, I'm happy that it's happening now, not when he had way more influence in DC before FTX collapsed. So yeah, really good stuff, I think.
Yeah. All right, moving on. MarginFi is a bar and lend protocol in Solana. They'd gotten to be the biggest, one of the biggest, top 3, maybe.
I think at one point it was like Solend, MarginFi, and Camino. They were all combining. I think MarginFi at one point had over $1 billion in TVL. Now it's gone down over the last 24 hours since this transfer.
So Edgar Pavlovsky was the CEO of MarginFi, and he basically pretty abruptly resigned on Twitter. There was a kind of tweet exchange that I think kicked things off.
There's always been kind of disagreements, it sounds like, internally, and also big push on the community. But like they have a points program, but they've kind of gone back and forth in terms of I think it also internally in the team of like, should they release a token? Obviously, day like yesterday when Uniswap received the Wells notice, definitely kind of contributed to kind of fuel to the fire. But then there was also a drama within a protocol in terms of the rewards. I think that they were accruing to the Soulblaze. That was probably nail in the coffin that kind of like opened Pandora's box, if you will.
Yeah, I think so. Soulblaze basically on Tuesday or Wednesday had started to like launch some accusations against MarginFi. Basically, they reward holders of its BSOL and Blaze tokens with more tokens. These are called emissions. Depositors of the Soulblaze tokens on MarginFi also get reward payouts. But for the last 8 days, the payments via MarginFi hadn't been getting to the BSOL and Blaze token holders. And so they kind of came out against them or something like that. So then there's this tweet, and then there's this tweet. Someone said, drop the token. And Edgar said, after today, it feels right to maximally push off any kind of token. We'll see what I can do internally to brick this. Satstart, who's kind of big Twitter guy, said, common MarginFi L, grow up. And Edgar said, you grow the fuck up, you dirt sack. And that was kind of the beginning of the end. And then a couple hours later, Edgar announced, I resigned from Margin today, from working on MarginFi, from the research arm, from all of it. It's a world-class team, it really is, but I don't agree with the way things have been done internally or externally. I've said it many times, I'll say it again, but those of us who are privileged enough who get to choose what we work on every single day, et cetera, something else. You're an investor in MarginFi, so what do you think of all this? Like, okay, so if I ever quit Blockworks, right? Like, here's what would have to happen. First off, like you just can't really quit your own company. But second, I guess you can. You have to have I'd have to get a CEO lined up, or I'd have to tell Mike. Mike would have to take the CEO role. And then you have to definitely tell your investors. You got to call all your investors. Like, doesn't seem like this happened at all. I don't know. Did Edgar reach out to you guys?
No, not to me. The chat was pretty quiet, and then there was just links to tweets, and I think I was just kind of following from the sidelines.
So there's a Telegram chat for MarginFi investors. There's a Telegram chat for most investors.
It was just kind of a bit of a surprise. I don't have the inside story. I'm sure there's merit to both sides, and I'm not really going to comment other than I support MarginFi. I think the nice thing about protocols is that smart contracts are smart contracts, and I think it's sad. I also think it's sad to see some other people dancing on the grave and really coming out and taking advantage of this situation. There was a vampire attack by Solend. I understand that there's competitors, there's rivalries, I just don't think it looks well when you, and this will tie into the Karak Eigen Layer discussion later on. There's just ways of conducting yourself. And I understand this space is kind of, crypto Twitter is important, but just like don't react, like respond.
Mm-hmm.
That will be a common theme that I'll keep saying over and over. It was in my mistakes episode. Like, you don't have to react. The mob will like pull it out from you. Take your time. Like, there's no, like, what was the benefit of being so public about it and like being, and then like it felt like a downward spiral. Like, there was just like a number of threads kept going around of like just the responses and the level of aggression and just keep going, goes going up and up, and you can get caught up in that. So anyways, it's just people need to be more professional in this space if we want to be taken seriously. And, you know, it's both a beauty and a curse that this space is very open.
Mm-hmm. Every founder has one company that they despise. And it's usually your biggest competitor or the person you feel most threatened by. And at
Never let them
some,
know.
at
Never let them
some
know.
point or another, yeah, A, never let them know that.
Never let them
B,
know.
at some point or another, something bad is going to, hopefully for you, something bad's going to happen to them. You're going to out execute them. They're going to fumble the bag. You're also going to make your own mistakes. When they do inevitably fumble the bag, like every company does at some point in their long storied history, like you just don't want to dance on the graves.
Not at all. Not at all. It's so bad form.
Yeah.
You don't want to punch below your weight. So whenever a founder comes to me and I ask, and they're like very focused on the competition, I'm like, it's a distraction. It's a weak founder. I will not invest in that most of the time. Sometimes I learn that after the fact. Other times I'm like, I may do investments in a particular vertical, and I always ask the founder, hey, what do you think about this company? They're like, oh, you know, they're trying to do what we do. If you want to invest in them and burn your money, I won't tell you no, but we're just better. I was like, okay, that's what I want to hear from a founder. It's always like a bit of a red flag when the founder says, oh, you know, yeah, like they're trying to do what we do. Like, definitely don't invest in them. Like, I will, I'll kick you out of the. I'm like, again, another lesson. You can't control what your competitors do.
Right.
Why focus on what they're doing? In open source, the only mode is, can you out execute? Can you out chip your competitor? Go, and I think like you mentioned the episode that we recorded with Stephen from Arbitrum. Talk about a world-class team. I think Arbitrum, top to bottom, is one of the best, most well-stacked, technically and also just professional teams in crypto. And they just like embrace that, and they're in their lane. They understand their strengths, and I think like they just play to that. They're not focused on, you know, we asked them about, you know, optimism. We asked them about other competitors. They're like, you know, we asked them about the fraud proofs and optimism. They're like, we hope that they figure this out. That's the right type of like founder. I think that's the best in class founder, not the guy that's trying to vampire attack and shit on, you know, a founder that just quit and, you know, is taking advantage of that. Like, really bad look, really, really bad look. And just don't do that. And I had the opportunity to invest in Solent. I'm happy I didn't. I'm very happy I didn't. And I will not touch that. I will not even deposit in that. And I'll stick through MarginFi. I mean, it's a good team. It's continued to build. Like, sort of, these things happen. So I don't have a full picture. I obviously want to understand what the continuity is. But, you know, things also move on.
Do funds have that same dynamic? Like, I promise you, if you ask any company founder, they have one company that they're like, internally, they're kind of like, they try to compete with. Would you say funds have that as well?
You know who's winning deals when you're losing, for sure. I never paid too much attention to it. I knew what my weaknesses were, and I just knew other funds had better, were better at certain things that I wasn't. And I would always be of the mind that, like, when I talk to a founder, I'd be like, yeah, we want to lead, but also we'll leave space for other funds that are going to complement. Because I don't, even today, I don't pretend to be good at everything. I know what I'm good at. I'm not also good. Know what I'm not very good at, and I know who else is better at me than certain things. I'm not going to waste my time trying to like be the most technical person in crypto. That's not going to happen. I know who's really technical, so I'd rather be like, hey, go talk to Paradigm because they have they have Sam, they have Giorgio's, they have Dan. Like they're very stacked in that front. Go talk to them. Bring them in the cap table. Like I want to make this a self-fulfilling prophecy. Or hey, go talk to the framework guys, or go talk to Parify. Like I think what you don't want to see is certain funds have this dynamic where they think they're the best at everything. They block, they take out most of the rounds, and I think that's at the detriment of companies. Because I understand fund sizes are getting bigger and bigger, and you want to maximize your allocation. But at the same time, there's a balance between rounding out the cap table. Maybe not with another fund, but definitely angels. There are funds that even go as far as leaving a very tiny sliver for angels. That happened in the optimism round. I didn't get the chance to invest with an angel. And I was like, okay. Then I went out and invested in Arbitrum. I'm happy I did. But at the time, I was looking at optimism, and I wanted to invest. I couldn't because, there was no space. And I thought that didn't make any sense at all. So I'm sure it does happen. Like there are funds that end up taking too much credit for what they do. And founders really resent that, and it's very well known which of those funds actually are. You never want to be that. You never want to be a fund that sings your praises. Let founders and other people sing your praises. Just don't. Just no.
Yeah.
It's a really bad look.
Yeah.
It's cringe.
Hey, everyone, wanted to give a big shout out to today's sponsor, Wormhole Foundation, stewards of the Wormhole protocol. If you are like Santi and I and you play around on chain, you know how bad the cross-chain experience is today. Well, Wormhole has set out to solve that, powering cross-chain transfers for over 200 different multi-chain teams, including some of the best like Uniswap and Circle. So what does that mean for you, the Empire listener? This opens up a huge number of multi-chain use cases across DeFi, NFTs, governance, oracles, and more. By supporting over 30 different blockchains and 6 different runtimes, including Sui, Solana, different ETH L2s, Ethereum, and a whole bunch more, that means you have now the most powerful interoperability platform at your fingertips. If you're a developer, you'll be excited to hear that Wormhole provides an extensive suite of tools and infrastructure so that you can securely build multi-chain applications. But don't just take our word for it, obviously. Wormhole protocol leads the industry in all-time messages transferred with over 900 million cross-chain messages. 900 million, that is close to 1 billion, and that's a big number of messages. As a thank you, Wormhole Foundation is dropping exclusive NFTs. That's right. We got some exclusive NFTs for Empire listeners. Hit the link in the description to claim your unique Wormhole NFT today. This episode is brought to you by Monad. Monad's thesis is simple. The EVM is here to stay, similar to JavaScript and Web 2, but unfortunately, today's EVM lacks the high performance and the scalability that developers need to make certain applications possible. Monad addresses these concerns and these bottlenecks while preserving seamless EVM composability for application developers. There's a seamless transition to Monad as the Ethereum RPC API allows for really easy portability. And for developers, Monad can support 10,000 real transactions per second with their unique parallel execution environment. And of course, there's full compatibility with EVM bytecode. Monad's internal DevNet is live. Public testnet comes out soon. You can join Monad's journey in 2 ways. 1, go follow them. They're on Twitter at Monad, MONAD_XYZ. And also join the Monad Discord. It's discord.gg/Monad. Big thanks to Monad for sponsoring Empire.
We got Bitcoin halving 9 days.
Is it priced in or is it not priced in?
Is it priced in?
Has it ever been priced in? No.
I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you a chart.
Oh, we love chart porn.
We love chart porn. Here's your full blown chart porn. Having hot phase down, having hot phase down, having hot phase down.
So basically what you're saying is before every
phase incoming.
Yeah. Well, it's also the rainbow chart. I'm happy to pull that one out. But
I love the rainbow chart.
Rainbow is just like that. It's amazing. So this is Bitcoin. It's showing Bitcoin performance since 2013, even before then. And the RSI. What is the RSI for people who don't know this? It's like relative strength index, but it basically measures like certain moving
You're
average.
trying to see if something's overbought or underbought.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So basically, this would predict that Bitcoin is based on the drawing of this box, which is probably not to scale. And I don't know if this is a log. This is definitely a log chart, by the way. You should always look at charts in log function, because if you don't, even if you look at the S&P like non-log, you're like, wow, this is gonna pop. But if you look at it in a smooth log scale, which this one is, then it makes things. I guess you less anxiety. So this would predict that Bitcoin would probably hit. What is just says 700,000? This is like Kathy Wood.
That says 130. Oh yeah. Okay, we're
This
going
is up
to
well,
700K based on stock money lizards trading view chart.
Okay, well, the box may not be drawn to scale, but if you infer that, I'm just gonna play with this, it would be like Bitcoin could go up to like 500,000 and you wouldn't blink, because this would be like how it normally has.
I will say, go
Kathy Wood. You're saying, what is it, over a million?
Dude, you should have been there for Seth Gins from Coin Fund. That man is bullish.
I mean, I recorded a podcast with Jake in another venue, and he was talking about like WorldCoin being like.
You cheated on the Empire Pod?
So,
dude,
listen, I get invited to other pods,
dude.
I know. Anyways, crucify me now. Anyways, he said that like these guys are like pretty bullish. It was like, all right, like fine, but yeah, it was. I want to drink that kind of Kool-Aid, because
here's what I'd say. What is Bitcoin's price today? Things still above 70K. We've got the SEC suing Uniswap. We got still Coinbase lawsuits. We've got GBTC having big old outflows. Like we've got. We're a week out from the halving. That's going to remove $12 billion of annual BTC supply, and has the potential to be like another ETF like Catalyst over the long term. Like,
yeah, Bitcoin L a lot. Talk about news. We have
Bitcoin L2s, like these.
Two of my portfolio accounts actually. By the way, I was talking about this in December. One of our year-end predictions was Bitcoin is going to have its moment where ordinals, like the Taproot update was 2021. Really has paved the way for more accessibility. Like ordinals has just been a huge thing, right? Where miners just wake up to the huge revenue potential. There's all this excitement. And now you've had obviously Stacks and Babylon, a few others. But like this week, Meso announced. So shout out to Matt and the Thesis team. They were the guys behind, or the team behind, Keep and TBTC. They've just been building in Lolly. There's a team that's built like a lot of products around Bitcoin, and I led the round when I was at Parify investing in Thesis in the studio. I just think they're really good builders, and now I had the privilege of investing in Meso, this particular like L2 for Bitcoin. So I'm really excited about that. That was the one that I was talking about like at the beginning of the year when I was like, when I made that, and people were like, what is it? What is it? I couldn't, because it was in stealth. And obviously, we recorded a podcast with Matt from Arch. So people should go listen to that, because both you and I are investors there. So yeah, it's really exciting. I mean, I think it also is coinciding with this Halving event, which is pretty exciting. So yeah, it's good to see the amount of activity. When I think about Catalyst of Bitcoin, like bringing more capital, like making that dormant capital base more productive, whether by allowing Bitcoin holders to invest in ordinals. Like now, two out of the three largest NFT collections are in Bitcoin.
Yeah,
just the purchasing power of Bitcoin holders is huge, and that's just ordinals. Like now, you're going to see hopefully more economic possibilities. That's all thesis for Meso, and Arch. People should go listen to that episode. Is just as opposed to an L2. This is just like at the native layer. Bringing in parallelization and just more functionality without having to bridge over into an L2 environment, which is really ambitious. But I think, anyways, I think it's nice to see Bitcoin, like just the community itself, like just more innovation there. So yeah, I think, is it crazy when I think about like, okay, what needs to happen? Obviously, this is supply and demand, but like I get. I guess I am more of a believer in Bitcoin today than before because you're seeing all this innovation.
All right. Remember when you sold all your Bitcoin?
I did. I do.
Did you buy back into Bitcoin or no?
I'd rather invest in these teams.
Okay.
For me, it's higher beta.
Do you own any spot Bitcoin?
Nope.
Do you own much spot ETH?
Some farming and stuff. Yeah, but I own more spot Solana.
You don't say.
Well,
You don't say. Look
Shocker.
at this.
Shocker.
This was kind of cool. So this is TD Bank putting out a literal ad.
In early 2024, Bitcoin's price reached new all-time highs. But what's the cause? Well, Bitcoin's price is determined by demand and supply, just like a stock. If there's more demand from buyers than supply from sellers, the price goes up. But if the opposite is true, the price goes down. And recently, the new US spot Bitcoin ETFs have increased demand significantly, but there hasn't been a significant increase in supply. In fact, there's another event happening in April of 2024 that will reduce the supply of new Bitcoin entering the market. It's called Bitcoin halving. Bitcoin was designed so only 21 million coins can be created. But instead of flooding the market with all the coins at once, a supply of new coins is slowly released into the market every day. As the name suggests, halving cuts the supply of new coins in half roughly every 4 years. This will continue until around May of 2140 when all 21 million Bitcoin will be on the open market. So how has the price of Bitcoin behaved after the previous halving events? Well, following each halving, prices climbed up significantly. Although history suggests that Bitcoin's price is ready for more new highs in 2024, it's not a guarantee. There are other factors that could greatly impact demand and supply, which ultimately determine Bitcoin's price. For more information about investing in Bitcoin with TD through ETFs, watch our video. And to open an account online with TD Direct Investing, click the link in the description.
But it's crazy. Like TD Bank's one of the biggest banks out there, a $100 billion bank. And
yeah,
they're out here like running an ad for the halving. It's just like once banks and once financial institutions realize that they can make money off of crypto, they will push that thing. And we've seen it at Blockworks. Like we're now getting, like we used to make on the advertising and sponsorship side of our business, it used to be like Coinbase or Uniswap or someone else reaches out to us and they want to buy ads or sponsorships or booths at a conference. Now it's like, now it's traditional financial institutions who have Bitcoin products and they're like, hey, we want to go reach these big hedge funds.
Are you going to push a commoditized ETF, or are you going to push the Bitcoin ETF where you can earn, way higher fees?
Right.
How about incentives?
All right, let's talk restaking.
Okay.
Karak launched. They want to introduce universal restaking for everyone. It's designed by the Andalusia team, which I think previously built. What did they previously build? Risk Harbor, I think it was.
It was Risk Harbor, yeah.
It was Risk Harbor.
I invested in Risk Harbor. That was my first deal after I left Verify. That was 2021.
Yeah. So
Coinbase,
they launched
Framework, myself, there are a bunch of others in the mix.
Yeah. So my understanding here is like it's kind of like Eigen Layer, but you're saying that you can do restaking on any protocol. You can do restaking on Solana. You could do restaking on maybe Celestia, whatever it is.
Like taking those deposit, like those tokens and restake. You mean?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I mean, you're I think pretty big investor in Karak. Would love to hear your thesis for this and your thoughts on it.
Well, I mean, I think these are one of the more thoughtful guys that have thought about insurance. That's why they reached out to me, because insurance and risk, people, no surprise, I've been thinking about that for a long time. I think there's way more opportunities to introduce just more risk management and security in the space. And that was my thesis investing in them way back when it was Risk Harbor. Over time, I think the strategy's evolved. They rebranded to Andalusia Labs, and then now they launched Karak, which is, a L2 purpose-built to, like, as you mentioned, like take in a lot of other assets beyond ETH for restaking. A lot in the conversations that I've had with Drew and Rove, like, I think one of the things when people think about risk, they think in very binary terms, whereas, like, this goes back to like portfolio construction, like Moskowitz theory, like a portfolio construction back in the 80s, where like there's this idea that like you can introduce riskier assets in the portfolio and actually make the aggregate portfolio safer, because those assets may not be correlated, and so and so that obviously like was a huge like breakthrough moment for allowing pensions and other investors to invest in riskier asset class, like alternatives like real estate and hedge funds and private equity funds. And I think in a similar manner, like when you think about like there's a purist camp within restaking that says only ETH because that's the most pristine collateral, and fine, I hear that argument. That's sort of like Eigen at the moment. These guys come and say, no, why would you stop just with ETH? Presumably you could take in other assets. The question is not so much should you or should you not. It's not like a binary decision. It's like, what is the appropriate amount of other assets that you should be introducing? And I think that's at the heart of what the founders and the company sort of aspires to do, to make crypto a more safer environment, like a more, I don't want to say anti-fragile, but a more robust environment. And like, I believe that. I think that there's a time and a place to allow other assets for restaking. And the nuance is to what degree. It also reminds me a lot of the difference fundamentally between Compound and Aave in the early days of DeFi. Compound, if you look at the assets they support, was very purist, was very like Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then a few of the major ones. Aave, on the other hand, took the approach of being way more agile and focusing on the risk parameters and saying, no, we're actually going to be agile in supporting a lot of these assets that are, new assets. It's just the ratio, the parameters that you set. And I think that's why Aave like really took off. And today is just by virtue of TVL and a number of other metrics, is the kind of the leading money market in Ethereum DeFi at least. And I think that's my thesis for Karak, is there will be a far larger opportunity to allow restaking for other assets, particularly Solana, some like Celestia, some of these other assets. And so I think that's the opportunity in the market that they're carving out.
Let me ask you this, Santi. So what do you think about, this strategy to me is just a go-to-market strategy. Eigen Layer dominates ETH, and they're saying, look, if we just did like ETH restaking, but if they just said, we're just doing ETH restaking, like what's your differentiator? So their differentiator here, as I understand it, is, I just realized there's a BlackRock article about Karak, and it says, we asked one of the founders, like, what are the similarities between Eigen Layer and Karak? He said, in the sense that both teams are building a staking protocol that enables other products or projects to access economic security to infrastructure layers. Yes, we're similar. Similar to Eigen Layer, Karak has its own version of AVSs, dubbed Validation as a Service, or VAAS. However, unlike Eigen Layer, which enshrines itself solely on Ethereum, Karak introduces this idea of universal security, or restaking for everyone, which where anyone can provide crypto economics with any asset on any chain. So when I read that, I'm like, super smart. That's basically at some point that was a go to market. That was a strategy to try to gain market share. Historically in crypto, that strategy actually doesn't. I have an argument why that will work, but historically that hasn't worked. Right? The infrastructure folks who have had the most success focus on just one ecosystem: Lido, Ethereum; Jito, Solana; Tensor, Solana; Magic Eden.
What about Magic Eden now Bitcoin?
So that's why I think, so that's the one, that's the counter. But MetaMask, Ethereum, Phantom, Solana. I think one of the best product decisions in the last couple of years by a crypto company was Magic Eden launching support for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And I didn't think much of it at the time, but if you look at it, that decision is now helping them win back market share in Solana.
Yeah.
And
you're just capturing the user, right?
Yeah.
Like there are users that hold both multiple assets.
It just makes me think, like, are we moving to a world in crypto? Like, I think this is just an example of crypto developing. We used to be in a world where there were the Solana users, there's the ETH users. Now people are like, I don't give a damn where I'm using my stuff. And I think like Magic Eden was the first example, but I think you could probably see it with Karak. Like if I hold, and Mike, Blockworks Mike had a good thread on this. Like if I hold Sol and I hold ETH, maybe I'd just rather go to a platform where I can restake both than do Eigen Layer plus something else, you know?
What's one of the biggest themes that I think we can all agree on? Chain abstraction.
Yeah.
So I think for in that manner, the customer acquisition cost might be lower for someone like Karak. The funnel is just wider.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of like a bet also that these other non-ETH ecosystems continue to grow. If you believe in a multi-chain world, yes. I mean, that happens on a relative basis. There's just more growth there. And so I think it's a smart move on their behalf. Doesn't mean that Eigenlayer can't be successful. I mean, I think ultimately also like this market is going to be big. And so, which is like kind of surprising, the response that, you saw from the Eigenlayer team. Like a lot of it was very hostile. Again, don't understand it. There's a lot of criticism there. I'm obviously biased. I'm an investor in Karak. I also know the Eigen team. And so it was a bit perplexing to see that. It was odd, the response that you saw from the Eigen team. I was like, stay in the lane. Like, well, you are the dominant leader today in terms of assets. And I'm clearly biased here, but yeah, I also, I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
Pretty immature from my perspective.
What do you think about the? I don't really know much. I remember Risk Harbor, but didn't follow anything about it. But I saw people saying like, oh, people like talking about Karak, like no one realizes they're the same team as the people who rugged Risk Harbor. And I guess like
Risk Harbor.
That's why I'm literally reading a tweet. It's like Risk Harbor exited Terra with 7 million USD from an underwriting fund, like blah, et cetera, et cetera. I know truly nothing. Like what happened with Risk Harbor?
But I mean, I spoke to them right after. I was talking to them yesterday, and this was something that came up. It's like literally, it's FUD.
Oh,
they make it seem like the founders took this money. It's like no.
Oh, Victor Chang is the CSO. Oh wow, that's cool. Yeah, okay, he posted the actual story. Okay, yeah, never mind. Cool.
Yeah, no shortage of FUD.
No need to spread FUD, Santi, like you usually do.
I usually do.
I'm kidding.
I don't pay attention. It's just like childish games. I love the founders of Karak. Just I'm pretty close with them. I talk to them on a regular basis, especially now. And I was like, "How are you feeling, guys?" I'm like, "We just keep chugging along." Like again, those are the type of founders that I back.
Yeah.
I don't wish any team in crypto like not success. I hope every team in crypto is successful, because for every team in crypto that fails, it gets at least 10 times more press than a successful one. And as an industry, I think we could all just embrace a little bit more of that mentality, where it's a really small pie right now. We're all in the game of expanding that pie. And sometimes it feels incredibly childish and nearsighted to focus on and having these tribal battles, and like going even as far as like throw shade and FUD on other teams building in crypto, where it hurts the industry more so than it hurts or benefits them. And I think that type of behavior should be called out and also, discouraged.
Yeah.
So what Eigen did yesterday, I think, is complete bullshit. It's like, guys, like if you really believe in your tech, if you believe in what you're doing, like just stick at it. Like why FUD? Why have this coordinated attack against Karak? If you have claims that they're stealing your code, which is absolute nonsense, they built the contracts from scratch, then fine. But anyways, I just think it's really childish and immature.
Last story is Circle. Circle announced. So Circle announced. Circle obviously is the issuer's USDC. They announced smart contract functionality that allows holders of BlackRock's USD Institutional Digital Liquidity Fund (BIDL) to transfer their shares to Circle for USDC. So, as a reminder, BIDL, because that was a mouthful. As a reminder, so BIDL is the tokenized fund that BlackRock launched in March 2024, last month, that operates on Ethereum, and it just offers US dollar yields. So BIDL allows investors to purchase tokens that represent shares in the fund, and the fund invests in US Treasury bills.
Like a RWA.
Yeah, but I don't think it actually was like, either it wasn't on mainnet or it didn't actually like have, it wasn't really on Ethereum. The plan was for it to be on Ethereum, and everyone's like, this isn't actually going to go on Ethereum. Now it's actually on Ethereum. And so, and you could actually see the contract on
Can anyone purchase it, or does it have
Etherscan.
account on BlackRock and be US person KYC?
I don't know. I see it on their website right now. I think it's just I see it on their website. There's no disclaimers.
It's an ERC20 token? Or
That's a good question. I don't fully know, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But okay, so what's really happening here? I mean, this is a big thing, like a big step forward for tokenization. So BIDL, if you look at the market share on rwa.xyz, the market share of tokenized US treasuries, BIDL has 25% of the market dominance. So the people who are ahead of that is like Franklin Templeton, which is built on Stellar. So it's really interesting. You've got like Franklin Templeton on Stellar competing with BlackRock on Ethereum. I'm like, oh my God, this is it's happening. So
interesting. Anyone
here's the prediction.
Yeah.
If the world ever sees a US CBDC, it is the US government putting the stamp of approval on Circle and saying, Circle, we will give you our federal reserve accounts.
Nice.
Go do it on ETH. We're fine with that, but
that'd be big.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be great. I mean, I think stablecoins sharing a lot of the yield is something that will continue to persist, and that's going to be ultimately good for stablecoin holders. Yeah. Native, like you get part of the yield. That's what they're doing right on the back end. Like Coinbase, look at Coinbase earnings. They'll continue to. They started breaking it out last quarter. They're going to continue to hopefully keep breaking out the amount of interest income that they're getting from deposits for the USDC product. So they're obviously taking that and depositing in like super low risk instruments like treasuries.
Yeah.
And part of that yield is they're sharing that with users depending on how much deposits you have on their platform. But that percentage I think will continue to grow, particularly as other stablecoins like start doing this and just compete against USDC. So
yeah. So
ultimately really good.
All right, man.
Prediction. When will it'd be really interesting maybe for another episode or some of your analysts to look at like if there's surveys of like what percentage of the US population or the world population holds stablecoins and in what capacity. Like Tron, for instance, like I think that's one of the most popular one in like emerging countries. But like if you were to take a bet, I think one of the best bets that you can make in crypto is that over the next 10 years, the percentage of people worldwide that hold a stablecoin is going to grow more than any other crypto asset in the world. And then take a finer view on like which stablecoin, but I think just broadly speaking, like that is like a bet that if I could express one bet about crypto with huge conviction, depending on the payoff, of course, but I think that's like a very clean bet to make.
Just more and more of the world will.
Yeah, like it's stablecoin options, stablecoins in circulation. Like if you have a prediction market, or like if you could buy options on like the total stablecoins in circulation, I think that number grows far more than any other metric in crypto.
Yeah.
Underlying that
it's interesting. So we're back to total stablecoin. The stablecoin market cap is 150 billion. We're still under 1 million weekly active addresses of stablecoin users, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They're pretty small.
Yeah. That will explode.
Yeah, dude. Good luck on the marathon. We're rooting for you.
Thank you.
What's your time target? What's your goal?
I'd rather not say because it puts pressure. But I'll be happy. I ran Tokyo a month ago, so this is a harder course. Sub 3 would be nice. That's I usually try to do sub 3 in all of them. So soft. I'm not gonna get greedy. I'm probably not gonna PR. I'll run the first half, which is net downhill. Boston's really tricky because I try to conserve energy and then run the second half faster, but you can't do that in Boston well because you have hills. So it's my first time running it, so I'm just gonna be conservative and probably run the first 3 quarters like holding back a bit, and then if I feel good, I'll unleash it and try to like go for it. That's what I do. Full fucking send.
Just get that motivation, put on the Empire podcast, and
Up only.
up on baby. Shout out to everyone who's subscribed to the Empire newsletter. We have over 1,000. We're growing by 100 a day, so we've got over 1,000 subscribers. Subscribe. Show notes. You know what to do.
Nice.
All right, everyone. Good pod. Appreciate you guys tuning in.
Yeah.
I'll see you guys Tuesday for the Steven episode, and then next Friday, Roundup, and then the week after that we got Jake and Seth from CoinFund.
I'll be in Dubai in 2049. I will record an episode there with the Aptos and Movement Labs, Rushi, which we've had on the pod. So that'd be really exciting for people to get another perspective on that ecosystem, just move in general.
Boom.
So good stuff. Thanks everyone for listening.
Cheers. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Don't forget to claim your free Wormhole NFT exclusive to Empire listeners. Hit the link in the description of today's episode and fill out the form to claim your unique Wormhole NFT today.